Okay, boys, pause your Pokemon or Fort Worth, whatever you are playing, and come over here and help me with the project.
It's Fortnite!
Well, whatever. Anyway, I was thinking about becoming an influencer on the line.
Do you mean online on YouTube?
Exactly, like on YouTube. I've even got a song wrote. You tell me what you think. Welcome to Granny's Storytime and Tea, where the stories are good and the cookies are free.
But Granny, you don't have any cookies.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter that I don't have cookies. It's just a hook.
What do you want to do on YouTube?
Well, I thought I'd tell my life stories, like the time I beat up a raptor with a wooden spoon until it was tamed and I named it Pickles. Or about the time that I caught a fish that was so big I could live on it for days.
Granny, you need to stop playing games before bed.
Yeah, probably. But what could we call the channel?
I know.
Storytime with Granny!
Alright, let's sit down and listen to my story for today.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and smash that like button.
Today's story is about Waverly Hill Sanitarium. The game I chose to go along with today's story is Outlast. Both are about a creepy sanatorium or asylum, whichever you choose to call it. I felt that they paired well together, and so I chose to use this game. About 20 minutes outside of Louisville, Kentucky, you will find the Waverly Hill Sanitarium, which is now dilapidated and abandoned, but was once an amazing facility that became self-sufficient, not needing the outside world for much of anything. In 1882, TV was formally discovered, newly understood. Major Thomas H. Hayes bought the land for a home, but since there were no close schools in the area, he chose to build one. He built a one-room school, and the teacher called it Waverly Hills. TB began running rampant among the population, and we needed facilities in order to treat the tuberculosis. Now, the city purchased the property from Major Hayes and constructed the new medicinal institution, and it opened in 1910. In the beginning, it was only a two-story building and was only able to hold about 170 beds. Later on, in 1926, the building was upgraded to a 400 to 500 bed unit with a total of 5 stories. This facility would cost $1.1 million back in the day, which is roughly $19 million today. At the time, there was no cure for TB. Tuberculosis, which was also known as the White Plague, was a bacterial infection that was contracted by breathing in air containing Macrobacterium tuberculosis. The bacteria could eat away at the lungs. Over 2 billion people total worldwide died from TB before a cure was discovered. It was considered the plague of all plagues. Some of the patients who had TB spread to their brain were given treatments like electroshock therapy because they didn't really know what else to do, so they were willing to try just about anything. Now, it's not known exactly how many patients died because some of the records were destroyed, others weren't really taken properly, but it's believed to be anywhere between 6,000 and 60,000 people that died inside of Waverly Hills. This facility became self-sufficient. They grew their own food, they had their own livestock, and they even had their own post office. So it's said that once you went into the sanatorium, whether you were a worker or a patient, you had no need to be a part of the outside world anymore because they had everything they needed contained in that facility. Aside from the electroshock therapy, there were other experiments that were done in an attempt to cure or treat the tuberculosis, as the disease was not fully understood at the time. However, there are no records to go back and take a look at because many were destroyed and some were just never made. they were doing experiments that they weren't supposed to. I'm sure that they kind of botched the record books a little bit and didn't put things on record. By 1961, a vaccine for TB had been discovered and Waverly Hills Sanitarium closed its doors. But in 1962, it reopened as the Haven Geriatric Center for elderly patients. This place was mostly for patients with advanced psychological and mobility impairments. However, it is said that it was a cruel and brutal place where patients were locked in their rooms for long periods of time or tied to their chairs. In 1983, the facility closed for good, not to reopen its doors again. Several people would buy the place in an attempt to do different things, from a giant Jesus statue to condos. However, nothing ever stood. The one thing that stands out about this facility more than anything is the ghost stories that remain today. One of the ghost stories is about a small boy named Timmy who fell from the rooftop. This story actually happened. There really was a child who fell from the rooftop. When people are wondering why a boy would be up on the rooftop, that's the thing. When Waverly Sanitarium was built, they built a playground on the roof of the building. It was believed that the fresh air and sunlight helped with the curing or treatment of tuberculosis. Why they put the playground on the rooftop, I don't know. However, that's where they did, and it said that the boy fell off of the roof. People claim that if you go there today and you go to that specific rooftop with a ball, that they can roll the ball and the ball will roll back to them. I looked and I've seen different videos of the ball rolling back, but I don't know. Without being there and seeing the floor to see if it's level or not, I can't really say. I've seen the ball roll in several different places, but all it takes is a small dip in the roof, I guess, for it to be able to roll in different directions, because as it's coming from one incline, it goes up another, and when it gets to a certain point, it's going to roll back down. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm not saying it is true. I'm kind of in the middle. Another such story is that a nurse's body was found hung outside of room 502 where she killed herself. Kicker to that is there's another story to it that maybe she didn't actually commit suicide after all. The story goes that she was pregnant by a doctor that was in the facility, and he tried to perform an abortion, and when he did that, she ended up dying, and so he staged her death to make it look like she died of a suicide, rather than him get in trouble for murder. Also outside of room 502, there is said to be another nurse who jumped to her death, but others believe that the nurse was pushed. Now the crazy thing about it is, as I've stated before, Waverly Hills Sanitarium was self-sufficient. So once you went in, whether you were a worker or a patient, you were no longer a part of the outside world. So, I mean, it does kind of make sense if you've got nurses and doctors there. Romantic relationships are going to form. And maybe some babies out of wedlock were created. And back then, that was just a big no-no. It wasn't like today where everybody and their dog is pregnant and not married. And it's just the social norm. It wasn't back then. So, I mean, there might be some truth to it. They have also claimed that they can see shadow people walking around the facility. Some believe that it may be patients that had died there, or even workers that died there. My only thing with shadow people is they're kind of creepy, and to me, if they're real, they seem to be an evil entity. I mean, why would you want to walk around as a shadow and scare people? I've seen other footage or pictures of supposed ghosts that look like a human. So if ghosts exist, they can obviously make yourself look human. So why make yourself look like something creepy and scary, like a shadow person? A lot of the video that I've seen out there that supposedly contain these shadow people, they're real grainy and they're dark and they're not very good. I just, again, like I've said in some of my other videos, I don't understand how in 2025, if these ghosts exist with all these fancy high-tech cameras that we have out there now, why has no better footage come about? Why is everything so grainy? Now, one such incident that supposedly occurred there is one of the ladies, I think she just does the tour. She had a friend that goes there and takes a lot of pictures, who claimed to have caught a full-bodied apparition. The lady took a picture of the picture, and that's all she has for proof. So the picture is really grainy. And she said that the lady couldn't send her the picture. Well, why is it always like that? These ghost stories or urban legends or whatever is always a friend of a friend of a friend. So it's never able to pinpoint the person, like, okay, tell me exactly what you saw. It was always a friend of a friend of a friend, or whatever. When it comes to these pictures, well, it was a picture of a picture of a picture, so they're all distorted. Well, I don't know if you've ever played the telephone game, where you tell somebody something in their ear, and then they turn around and whisper that into the next person's ear, and they whisper it. By the time it gets back to you, the whole message was totally wrong. Well, that's kind of the same thing that I feel happens with many of these urban legends like this. Is too many people have told the story, and it's gotten distorted along the way. Same thing happening with a lot of this supposed footage or film, pictures, whatever. It's like somebody took a picture of a picture, or when they're showing it to you on YouTube, they're showing it from a phone. Rather than make it full screen so you can actually see it, you're just seeing a small bit of the screen as just a phone screen or something. Show me some definitive proof and I will believe a little bit better. Anyway, I digress. Let's get on. Another story is supposed to be that of a homeless man and his dog who died because they fell into an empty elevator shaft, plummeting to the bottom. And there's the rumor that instead of it being an accident, somebody actually had pushed the person. Well, the thing that cracks me up is there's always, every story of a death is always backed with, well, it could have been a murder, somebody could have pushed them. And yes, that's true, it could have. The nurses made more sense to me than the homeless man. However, there are crazy people in our world who would do this type of mischievous thing just because they think it's funny and they don't care who gets hurt in the end. Anyway, it is said that people can still see the ghost of the man and the dog, so that's kind of weird. The biggest thing about Waverly Sanitarium that I don't want to leave out is the fact of there is a tunnel, and they call it the body chute, the death tunnel. The body chute is roughly 500 feet long, and it was supposed to be a way to move goods throughout the facility. But it is said that it was used to move bodies during the height of the tuberculosis day, so that the other patients weren't seeing all of the bodies being transported out of the facility for burial. One of the beliefs about the cure of tuberculosis back in that time was not only that fresh air and sunlight helped, but also good living conditions like happiness. So they had things like theaters and whatnot. So it could be said that maybe the reason why they used the body chute to get rid of the bodies was because that would be kind of depressing if you were just sitting there and all of a sudden hundreds of bodies were being moved all the time in front of you, and you'd be thinking, I'm going to die. There's just no cure for this. And that's not going to give you positive thoughts. So I could kind of understand that. However, again, due to destroyed records or records not kept, there is no evidence that the body chute was ever used to transport any bodies. And just for giggles, my daughter and I, the other night, went out and did our own little ghost hunting. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures on here of what we caught. Is it a ghost? I don't know. Is it creepy or weird or odd? Yes. Are we looking to get famous with our famous ghost pictures? No. But we were just being silly, being a mother and daughter, actually going out, and we went to one of the local cemeteries, and we did capture this creepy image here. So in one picture, you're going to see there's nothing there, but in the other, in the same area, is what looks like a little girl. The other one, to me, looks like a headstone, almost with a demonic face on it. And we caught it twice on camera, and she took about 15 to 16 pictures of that same area, and only twice did that little headstone appear, or whatever it is. So, yes, it was creepy. Do I think it was a ghost or a haunting? Probably not. It probably was just some kind of anomaly or whatever. But it was pretty neat, so I thought I'd share it. Anyway, I'm sure I didn't cover everything there is to cover on the Waverly Sanitarium. I'm just kind of reporting the majority of what I have discovered in my research. Anyway, if there's a story that you would like to hear in the future, make sure to drop that in the comments. If you don't mind, we would surely appreciate you clicking that subscribe button, smashing that like button, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime that we upload in the future. We're a small channel trying to make it to 100 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. So please help us get there by just hitting that subscribe button. Anyway, thanks for watching. Keep gaming, people. Don't forget to go over to my other channel, Gaming Granny 74 on YouTube, and watch me just play video games for fun. We goof off, we have fun, and I sometimes gather some information and I post that on there too. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll catch you next time.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and smash that like button.